Hello, I'm Amanda, and I'm the other half of After Dark with Books. Bear with me, this is my first alone video. So I'm going to be sharing what I read in the month of October. I will give short descriptions of my thoughts about the book, what I liked, what I didn't like. Hopefully we can make this a short video, but me and Melissa do a podcast. It's After Dark with Books. We do it on YouTube and Spotify now, and we upload a video every Friday at between 12 and 3. We're trying to figure out the best times when to upload and what's going to be a good time to upload for people. So, let's get into my October wrap up. So, the first book is Strange Beast. Strange Beast follows Mia and she has this secret ability and she writes, for the paranormal uh, people, they're detectives. So she writes down all like what's been solved, what hasn't been solved cases. And so one day she decides I want to do this because she feels like one of these cases and why people are unaliving is because something's connected to her grandfather in these cases. So Mira is like, I want to do this. Can I do this? And she gets the opportunity and gets assigned to a detective, and they try to figure out together what's going on. So I gave this book 5 stars. There are some trigger warnings in this book. I really enjoyed it. It's kind of like a Sherlock Holmes meets Dracula vibe. I was loving it. The next book I want to talk about is Wish by Sarah Flanagan. Like I said, all the books that I mentioned, I'm sorry, will be right here. I don't have physical copies, so I will put pictures of the covers of them right here. I do ebooks and audiobooks, so that's how I do my reading. If I really like a book, I will buy the physical copies. I like to support the authors that I really like, and there'll probably be some books on this list that I end up buying the covers because they're beautiful and I want to support them. So, Wish by Sarah Flanagan follows Mora, which I kind of wasn't vibing with Mora in the beginning because I kind of felt like she was a bitch. Like, what is made her so freaking bitter and not like the world that she's living in? This book is told in multiple point of views, which I love. I don't get easily confused with those kind of books. And this book does go back and forth from past to present of Mira's life before she was cursed and her life, now as she's cursed. And she is trying to figure out a way like who cursed her, why she knows who cursed her. I'm not going to give that away. But she's trying to figure out how to get out of this curse. Is she doomed forever? She's lost her parents. This is a fantasy. I do have a hard time with fantasy sometimes, but this one, it took me a little bit longer, but I didn't want to rush it. I was vibing with Mora. I loved a little bit of Fae in there, the magic and there, the slow burn. There are triggers in this book, so I gave this book a 5 star. The next book I buddy read with Melissa, actually the next 2 books, is Never Lie. I gave this a 4 star. This follows a therapist who is being blackmailed by one of her patients because he has narcissistic behavior, and he doesn't want to stop seeing her, so he blackmails her. So we're going back and forth from the present to the past with this doctor and how she's trying to just try to get rid of this man. And so that's what we follow along. There are a little bit of a triggers in that one. I gave it 4 stars. I didn't like the ending. I wish they would have just stopped at a certain point and I would have been happy with it. The next book we read together, me and Melissa, sorry, is Gothiana. I almost DNF'd this book, but chapter 11, but I was on the road trip and I figured, well, I'll bring my Kindle with me and read it and push through. I ended up pushing through, and there was just certain parts I didn't like. Me and Melissa go into depth on one of our podcast episodes about Gothiana, so I highly recommend you check that video out too. But yeah, my thoughts, I just didn't like it, certain parts. This book does talk about schizophrenia, some mental illness, some asylums. So yeah. The next book I want to talk about is Time Time Tournament. This book follows a young girl who ends up going on a trail with her parents, and she gets lost and then ends up back in time somehow. And this witch she meets is like, listen, you've been here a million times. You need to get it right this time. So this book has dragons and it's just full of adventure. Like I said, I have a hard time with fantasy, but this one kind of just got me. And I gave this one 5 stars. The next 2 books are by the same author, and it's called The Witch and the Wish and The Passengers for book 2. And this follows a young kid who doesn't listen to his parents. I mean, who listens to their parents nowadays? So the mother doesn't like jokes and being scared. I don't like being scared. I don't like the pranks. So I don't do pranks with people because I know that I'll get a prank 10 times worse. So anyways, so the kid pranks his mama or plays a joke that he went somewhere where he wasn't supposed to. Well, the next day, she disciplined him. Then the next day, his father's like, hey, you need to make it up to your mother. Well, he ends up meeting his friend that, is not a good influence, and they end up wandering off. And so, yeah, I gave those 2 books 5 stars. The last book that I read was The Witch Wife. This book follows Irene, and this book comes out November 21st, so I don't want to give too much, and there are some trigger warnings in there. So this book follows Irene, who's been kidnapped by a king and queen who want their son to marry Irene. But Irene ain't having it. Her husband just passed away. She honors her vows to death do us part. Afterlife, she's not marrying this kid. And he's a kid because he's like, oh, maybe early 20s. I don't know how old he is, but she's older than him, so she refers him to that. So, yeah, I highly recommend you check this book out. I pre-ordered my copy already. I'm super, super excited for this book to come out and more books. I mean, The Wish is a series by Sarah Flanagan, so I can't wait for book 2. The Witch Wife, I don't know how many books are in that series. So, yeah, if you recommend any more books for me to read before the end of 2024, put it in the comments. Check out our podcast. Me and Melissa, we do a podcast, like I said earlier, every Friday. This is new to me, so maybe you'll be seeing me in some more alone videos. So, yeah, thank you, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.